Shaykh Daghash says, answer to a doubt. Some people may pose the question, why would you write regarding the obligation of hearing and obeying the Muslim ruler, and not with regards to the rights of people upon the ruler? So I, meaning Shaykh Daghash, say the answer is from perspectives. First, the texts of the Sunnah are many which clarify the obligation of such. So I am gathering these texts in a single book, so there is no astonishment in that. Second, the
Well,
vast majority of the books of
there's nothing blameworthy upon me, the Shaykh said. There's nothing فلا عيب علي في ذلك.
Second, the vast majority of the books of Aqidah indicate the obligation of hearing and obeying, and they don't mention the rights of people upon the ruler. Third, not mentioning the rights of people doesn't mean from near nor far that there are no rights for
From
them.
near nor far should be translated to remotely. It should not be remotely. It doesn't remotely mean. By the way, make these corrections, barakallahu fik, because this is as a revision for the translation that you have made. So the first one was that there is no blame on me. So the Shaykh said, نعم فلا عيب علي في ذلك. There is no blame on me in that. And here you say it is not. It doesn't remotely mean. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Not mentioning the rights of people doesn't remotely mean from near nor far.
No.
That there are no rights for them.
Near nor far means nothing in English. So when you translate near nor far, you say remotely. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Not mentioning the rights of people doesn't remotely mean that there are no rights for them, and that is permissible for the ruler to oppress them, and other than that, rather their right is protected, the high and the low know. And every Muslim knows the ugliness of oppression towards anyone and its prohibition. However, most are ignorant regarding the rights of the rulers. Fourth, we see that the Sunnah emphasized upon the obligation of obedience
the
of
high
women.
and the low, or those that are far and those that are near. So revise that. نعم.
Fourth, we see that the Sunnah emphasized upon the obligation of obedience of women towards her husband and obedience of the son towards his father in many mutawatir hadith. However, it doesn't mention the obligation of obedience of the father towards his son and the husband towards his wife. And this is because the right is of the father and the husband, and other matters are other matters that are ta'abbudi. Despite the knowledge of the common folk and others that the obligation of obedience of the wife towards her husband doesn't mean that she doesn't have rights, and that it is permissible to oppress her, and that the Sharia gives precedence to some over the others. However, it is only the maslaha, meaning an Islamic benefit, which necessitates that some will be obeyed and will lead.
نعم, this is a beautiful point that the Shaykh brings. And if somebody were to say, why are you writing about the rights of rulers upon the people? Why not the people upon the rulers? He says, in the same way that you hear people, or you have books for birr al-walidin, for example, or obeying the husband, or obeying your parents. Yani, does that mean that there are no rights for the children upon the parents? Nobody thinks like this. Nobody says that. But because there is a sickness in the heart, ya ikhwah, because they want to refuse this. They don't like hearing this. They don't like hearing this. That's why they say, why don't you write, as if they have a point. طيب, why don't you then, next time, expand on the rights of your wife, of your sister, of your children, of your cousins upon you, and so on. Why do you capitalize on the rights of the parents, for example, the rights of the husband? And in no way, shape, or form is it understood that your sister doesn't have a right on you if you wrote a book about birr al-walidain. There is in no way, shape, or form that there is no right upon you for your children, and your children have a right upon you because you have written a book in regards to your rights upon them. Nobody says this. Naam. So this is a very strong answer from the Shaykh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him. Naam.
As such, writing regarding righteousness towards parents and the rights of the husband doesn't mean that it is for the parents to do whatever they wish to their offsprings, and for the husband to do what he wills to the wife. In fact, all bear the Shari'i responsibility and are held accountable for their actions
نعم.
and statements.
This is another strong point. He says, and when we talk about bir al-walidain, that doesn't mean that the parents are exempted from standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and answering if they have done something that is wrong. If they have done something that is wrong, it's upon them. And they will answer before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that this does not mean, so now you have to do bir to them and you have to know their rights upon you, as if there are no rights upon them, or they are not going to be held before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and there's no requital for them, or that there's nothing obligatory on them, there's nothing haram on them. This is not, nobody understands. Ya ikhwan, nobody understands this understanding in any other field. But people that have deviated in a certain place, you'll find them raising such problematic things. Because they don't, they want to fight it in any way, shape, or form. So they make these silly arguments and these silly claims. Naam.
However, the greater right is for the parents and to the husband, as also the right of the ruler is greater, because his right is obligatory upon all his subjects. So due to this, we author and write to the general masses and not to a specific individual. And this is from the noblest of goals for authoring, that the benefit is general and not specific. At last I say, I have truly brought out this book, exerting my efforts in choice, meaning in narrations, and attaining precision, so that perhaps Allah will benefit the Tullab al-Ilm and the general masses of the Muslims with it. And why not, when there has truly been a wave of intended contemporary political protests in the land, with the ideologies of the extremists from the deviated methodologies. And the land has been raged with fitan, with the Khawarij having found their opportunity to make khuruj and to ruin the lands of the Muslims, and what stems from it of destruction in most villages and towns. And I call upon everyone, the rulers and the subjects, towards the taqwa of Allah, to establish justice, the ruling by the Sharia, to preserve the Muslim lives and their countries, to seek their maslahah, and to establish the obligations that stem from it. And I ask Allah for afiyah, meaning well-being, and salama, meaning safety, from the blinders of the fitan. And I ask Him to benefit me and to benefit the Muslims by this work, written by Shaykh Dr. Daghash bin Shabeeb Al-Ajmi. May Allah forgive him and all his parents.
Al-Ajmi, not Al-Ajami. Al-Ajmi. And na'am, this is the aqeedah of the people of Sunnah and Jama'ah. They make dua for the rulers. Na'am.